Hello YouTube and welcome to another GV anime review. Now the anime I'm reviewing today I was looking forward to for a long time. That anime is Little Busters and its second season Little Busters Refrain. Now why was I looking forward to it? Well, Little Busters is another anime adaptation from a game coming from Key Animation, and therefore another anime where Jun Maeda, my personal anime god, has worked on. By the way, I hope everything is gonna be fine with him since he's hospitalized right now. Get well soon, Maeda, you have a lot more amazing anime to make. On top of all that, Little Busters is made by GC Staff, one of my favorite animation studios. But enough introduction, let's get to the review. The story of Little Busters revolves around Naoe Riki, a high school student who suffers from narcolepsy, which means that sometimes he just falls asleep for a couple of hours out of nowhere. Riki has been friends with 4 other characters for a long time, being Masato, Kengo, Rin and her brother Kyosuke, who was also the leader of the group. Now Kyosuke has been gone for a while, traveling to an unknown location, but one day he returns to the school. After his return, he proposes to erect a baseball team. For that they need more members, and Kyosuke charges Riki with the task to find them. And that's the setup where this story starts to unfold. But before we get to the actual review, I must warn you that this review will contain spoilers. But as usual, I will tell you in advance when the spoilers are coming up, and I will provide you with a link to skip the spoiler parts if you want to. Also, this review will be slightly different than usual, being that I'm going to go chronologically through the anime instead of grouping my positive and negative points together. It makes more sense to do it that way here. So let's start at the start of the first season, which were the first 9 episodes. I was so confused when I was watching these episodes. I had absolutely no idea what the fuck was going on. I couldn't find an overall storyline in these first 9 episodes, besides that they tried to recreate the baseball club and that thing with the tasks that Rin receives, which proved to be important further on in the anime. But for the rest there was no interesting overall storyline. There also weren't any arcs built into the start of the anime. These episodes made to me absolutely no sense. They were completely random and episodical, and I was really wondering if this was a Key Animation anime, because I was pretty bored during these first episodes. But somewhere I knew by the high scores that Little Buster receives that it was going to improve along the way. And that improvement started at episode 10, where the anime starts to use arcs in its storyline. The following episodes, going from 10 to 26, revolves around 3 arcs. One with Mio as the main character, one with Haruka, and finally one with Kudryavka. To me, the first arc with Mio was the most interesting arc of the 3. This is also where we get a first glance at the magic element of Little Busters. Now at the time I found the magic element to be really odd, but I had forgotten that this was a Key anime, and if you watched some Key animes before, then you know that every anime coming from them contains some form of magic or supernatural. The further we got into the anime, and definitely in the second season, the magic element got more and more abundant, but more about the second season in the spoiler part of this review. Now the arc around Mio was the most interesting one, and besides a first look at the magic, we also get a first taste of the drama in Little Busters, and that's mainly the reason why this arc is my favorite. I found the story of Mio to be quite sad, and it dragged me back into this anime, which I was bored by before this arc. Mio was to me also the best girl in this first season. Watch that I said in this first season, because I'm getting back to that later on. But you guys know that I have a weakness for kudereis and dandereis, and Mio is a textbook kudere, so that says enough. Like that I can transition into the characters. While Mio was my favorite female character in the first season, my favorite male character was Kengo. I liked him throughout the entire anime. In the first part, he was this very cool martial artist who was on the background most of the time. I wonder if that was on purpose, because in the second season, Kengo becomes really important and also shows what a true friend he is. And that's what made me like him so much. The fact that he kept supporting Riki through everything that happens in the latter part of the anime. Then there's one more character I want to discuss, and that's Kyosuke, because he went through quite the roller coaster in my opinion of him. He started out as a neutral character to me. He didn't have a lot of influence on the development of the storyline, so he existed in this anime, but I was nor interested nor bothered by him. But then in the second season, I hated him so much. God damn it, did I hate Kyosuke. What he did there was inhuman in my eyes, but I'm going to get more into that in a minute. Now, at the end of the anime, I didn't hate Kyosuke that much anymore. In fact, he became a character that I respect, which is proof that he was a well-written character. I foresaw his ending differently than the one we actually got, but in the end, Kyosuke was a good guy. For those of you that haven't seen Little Busters yet, it's time to click this link and skip everything else I'm going to discuss in the rest of this video. Because I'm going to start talking about the second season Refrain, where shit started to hit the fan and where I have to tell spoilers. So click the link on the screen and you'll be sent straight to my conclusion. So let's begin at the very start of the second season. If the first season kind of let me doze in a bit, the start of the second season just gave me a bitch slap that woke me up instantly. What the actual fuck was that arc around Kurugaya? Wow, I did not see that coming. Not in a million years I expected some sort of romantical development between Riki and Kurugaya. Never. I was then also completely blown away and shattered by Kurugaya's story and definitely by that ending. That ending was so freaking sad. Just seeing Kurugaya disappear, her knowing that her love for Riki won't be answered. I was devastated by that. In the short time that we got to witness a possible relationship between the two, I really grew attached to that idea, and then it got thrown to pieces. Where Mio was my favorite girl in the first season, Kurugaya was definitely best girl in the second. Not that I didn't approve of the relationship with Rin that Riki eventually got in. That was then also clear from the start of the anime that they would form a couple, but maybe I would have liked to see that differently. So summarized, this arc made me realize that the best of this anime was still to come, and that's quite the understatement. Because the arc after that kept slapping the feels in my face. That story of Rin and her slowly collapsing and losing hope to live was heartbreaking. This was also the point where I really hated Kyosuke. What a fuckface was he in this story. I get that you want Rin to learn to stand up for herself and to take care of herself, but this was just plain inhuman. Cutting her off of everything she relies on, especially Riki, and then just leaving her lying beaten on the ground and saying that she has to learn to get up herself? There are other ways, more human ways, to get someone to learn to stand on their own 2 feet. And if the fact that he destroys Rin wasn't enough, that psychological mind game that Kyosuke used to make Kengo miss his shot at the game made me wanna fucking kill him. Kyosuke just played with and manipulated the feelings of everyone, of Rin, Riki, Kengo and Masato. When later on Kyosuke got into a depression himself because he can't succeed his mission was a treat to me because I just wanted to see him suffer. Now with me hating Kyosuke so much that I wanted him to die, I can get to the next part of the anime, where we finally learn the truth about the world that our characters lived in. That was a bombshell, that's for sure. The story about the bus accident and how Ricky and Rin are going to be the only survivors was brutal. And then I'm not even talking yet about how we see every one of the main characters disappear one by one. That was angel beats all over again. Seeing every character coming to terms with themselves and then leave the others with enough emotional feels to make a whole town depressed for days. On top of that, we also get the truth about what Kyosuke had been going through the entire time, and after hearing that, I couldn't hate him anymore. I still don't approve of his methods that he used on Rin, but after all, he did everything that laid in his power and beyond to save Ricky and Rin, going through the same time zone 10 times, 100 times. This finale of the alternative universe storyline was on point and exactly what I expect from a key anime. Then there's one thing left for me to talk about, and that's the actual ending of the anime in the real timeline. I was a bit disappointed by that, I'm honest here. I was disappointed because the anime went for the cliche happily ever after ending. If the anime would have had the guts to end after episode 11, this would have been glorious. But GC Stuff isn't the kind of animation studio that goes for sad endings. Instead of that, they chose to end the anime with everyone being saved and being friends forever. I expected at least one character, being Kyosuke, to die. Not that I wanted him to die anymore, but it would have lifted this ending to a whole new level. Now, it's not that I completely disliked this happy ending, but sad endings, like for instance the one of Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso, have way more impact and are remembered for longer. Unfortunately, animes that dare to take this risk are scarce, but that's maybe a good thing, so that they can surprise us from time to time. So as a conclusion, although not being the best anime from Key that I've seen, Little Busters is a worthy member of the Key family. Now for the ratings, I'm going to rate the two seasons differently, with a 3 out of 5 star rating for the first season and a 4 out of 5 star rating for the second season, Refrain. Overall, you could say that I rate Little Busters at 3.5 out of 5 stars. It had some less interesting episodes, but the ones that did matter were on the level that I expect to see from Key Animation. Little Busters reminded me of a lot of other animes at certain points. The first season was a reminder of Boku wa Tomodachi ga Sukunai, where we also follow a group of friends and their adventures. Then the first part of Refrain reminded me strongly of The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. The ones that watched Little Busters know why. And then the end was just angel beats all over again. Also here, the ones that watched Little Busters know why. And with that I conclude my review of Little Busters and Little Busters Refrain. As usual, you can find the full list of all my animes and reviews over at Anime Planet. As usual, I will put a link in the description box down below. Now if you want me to review a particular anime from this list, please put it in the comments. Also, if you have a recommendation for me, put them in the comments as well. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, visit me on Facebook and subscribe to this channel for more reviews in the future. I will say arigatou gozaimasu and I will see you all in the next video.